Elijah.
Hello?
Hello, Elijah?
Yes.
Hey, Elijah. My name is Michael. I'm a broker with Inspired Brokerage. How you doing?
Yeah, how about you?
Good. Hey, buddy. Estella asked me to give you a call about an offer we submitted on your property on Paddle.
Oh, gotcha. What was I didn't even see that. What was the offer?
It was a subject to offer.
Okay.
Yeah, the conversation I know we hasn't officially submitted because we've been kind of going back and forth verbally on the subject to, and I think she said you had some questions, and I was just gonna give you a call. She knows I'm giving you a call to see if I can answer what questions you may have, or do you even fully understand what we're trying to do here.
No, subject 2 is new to me. I only heard of it a couple days ago.
Okay.
But I appreciate Stella, kind of trying to find a creative solution.
She is trying to find, she's definitely trying to find solutions. She's definitely working for you, so I will give her that.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. The only thing was, I told her I was on board with it, but I needed to do some initial research, and I was doing more initial research last night, and I realized it was with subject 2 was more risk on me than I wanted per se, right? The do on sell clause. I know there's ways around it,
right?
Like I'll be honest, with subject 2, I really wouldn't be comfortable. I'd be more comfortable with like an executory contract, which would transfer the deed to the buyer post refinance or post selling of the home. That would be more comfortable. But even then, like even if I got that, that's not even my biggest concern. My biggest concern is the fact that if the buyer at any point, like let's just say it's you. And you're like a one-man show. You die and you get ran over, like you get in a wreck with an 18-wheeler, you die. Right? Who's to say whoever takes over whatever you have is gonna want to keep making the payments, or the tenant signs out? Like regardless, if the payments ever, for whatever reason, and there's a million different things that can happen. If the payments ever stop, and I'm like in a different house or in an apartment, be able to afford that rent/mortgage,
right?
And then on top of this one, that's my biggest concern.
Definitely did his homework.
Even more than like the do on sell clause and stuff like that.
Okay, well let me kind of just break it down a little more if I can. See if I can answer all your questions, see if that would kind of relieve you a little bit. So again, my name is Mike. I've been doing this for about 10-11 years. I'm also a broker. I specialize in subject 2, pretty much all over Texas, to be honest with you, and we've done hundreds of these transactions. So I definitely understand all the questions. It's not a common deal that we do here. I think if not, I think Estella told you the numbers on your house, obviously we're upside down. If you were to sell it, even if you were to get a full price offer with your traditional closing costs and seller contributions, you're still upside down a pretty decent amount. On my end, for me to step in your shoes, that's something I consider as well. Answering your questions, which is your very, very common questions, is what happens if I die? What happens if I stop making the payments? Can you buy another house? So we'll just go straight into it. The way I structure the business, again, I've done hundreds of subject 2s, so it's a huge portfolio. What I can tell you this is, if I purchase the property and the house is vacant for 12 months, the house will always be made, the payment will always be made on time, because the way the portfolio is structured. Those houses, they have tenants in place, they're Airbnbs, sometimes we do owner financing. So each property makes income. That's what we do as an investor. And then at the end of the month, there's that lump sum of income. Before I make any money, I use a third-party company to make sure that all the vacant houses are paid for, and then I get the disbursement, meaning I can buy your house and it can be vacant for 2 years, and the payment will always be made on time because the way the company is structured. However, it doesn't make sense for me to do that, so we'll throw a tenant in place, or potential Airbnb, or potential owner financing. Now, what happens if I die? If I die, the attorney that oversees all the files is structured to doing what he has to do to make sure that the portfolio still remains, or at that point, we'll start selling off the properties one by one to kind of clear out the estate.
That does make sense. One question. Sorry, my bad. You're still going?
If you, unless you, go ahead and ask your question.
One question I do have is, like, if things go bad per se, right? Like I know things are going pretty well for you, but like just imagine everything turns upside down. Well, eventually there would be a scenario, like it's the worst case scenario, albeit, but eventually there'd be a scenario where maybe you can't make the payments.
Right. Right? Yeah, you never know what happens. Terrible. So let's just say we do this transaction.
Yeah.
3 years down the line, for some crazy reason, I stop making payments. If I stop making payments, what that is a breach of contract, right? If it's a breach of contract, at that point, you're in your rights to hire an attorney and do what you got to do. Judge sees it. More than likely, I'm an investor, you're the consumer, and judge should rule in your favor because the loan's still in your name. With that being said, house gets awarded back to you. Now we are 3 years down the line. I maintained it for 3 years. I've made payments for 3 years. I maintained the property for 3 years. The value of the house has gone up in the span of 3 years. The balance of the house has gone down in the span of 3 years. And now you're in the best position to do what you got to do. But I will tell you this, me doing what I do after having all that forced equity, if you will, in the span of 3 years, I definitely have options. I also have the portfolio with a lot of houses that are cleared and are paid off. So it's real easy for me to sell one house here, one house there to do what I got to do. That's the best I can kind of tell you. Hey, I'm in a great position to do what I'm doing, but for some crazy reason, if I stop doing what I do, you get a house back with more equity and more value.
Gotcha. I'm probably not the right client for a subject 2 because there's one stipulation that I would want, which I completely understand. I don't think anybody would be willing to give me, which I understand. I might not give it to them if it was me. But this one stipulation that I would want would be like I don't know how you have it, but I'll explain it for the other people that were coming. They said they had this thing called a war chest, which is pretty much the same as account, right? Where they put their money in, 20% of their income they put in, so that way, like if something bad happens, they can always pay mortgage. So one thing I was asking them is, hey, can I get a monthly statement of the war chest? Because for me, like if I start noticing a downward trend, I can start preparing to take on a second mortgage, right? Which would be this house or apartment rent and a mortgage, just so I could always be prepared. And they didn't see that, which once again I get, just so I can have an understanding of how soon the mortgage will fall back on me. Because like if I'm in the middle of a 12-month or 18-month, let's just say 12-month rent lease on an apartment, and then like you said, worst case scenario happens, the mortgage falls on me.
Right.
Regardless, I'm screwed because I'm not going to be able to afford that. Most likely, I won't be able to afford the rent and the mortgage. So regardless, I'll be screwed in that instance. Even if I get the deed back, I'll probably lose the house before I even get the deed back.
If you get the deed back, you have equity, so you can just sell the house and not lose money like you would now. Which, in essence, in 3 years, if I stop making the payments, all I gotta do is put the house for sale, cash out the house, and get it sold traditionally, and then I'll make the money. So I know we're worried about it, and I know it's not a traditional transaction, but yeah, in order for us to move forward, I need you to be confident in who I am, be confident in what I do, and understand that, hey, I'm a broker, an investor, professional. I've done hundreds of these transactions. I'm pretty confident nobody in San Antonio has done more subject twos than I have. Yeah, we can't have that. That's more important to me than the house, if that makes sense. I need to be on a better relationship. I don't want to say this, that sounds weird, but to me, this is just another house in the portfolio. I care more about me and you, our relationship, that you trust me to make this happen, than I do about a house.
Gotcha.
Going back to the word chest. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, I can't disclose my funds to a person I'm doing business with.
Exactly, and once again, that's something that I completely understand.
Yeah.
And that's why I told
it's worth a shot.
Stella.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked though. It's worth a shot.
Yeah, no, that's why I told Stella. I said I don't think I'll probably be the right client for subject to, because just for my own security, right? That was my one kind of like thing that I was hoping for. Even though that wouldn't really remove the risk, because
it wouldn't remove the risk. Yeah, you see it, you still, and if something were to happen, you still got to make the 2 payments no matter what. No matter if you see a downward trend. So let's just, if 20% of my income is $2 million, and then 3 years later, 20% of my income is $1.5 million. I mean, the seven figures are still there, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, yeah, so, exactly. But I get it. It's worth the shot. I'm glad you asked. Yeah. No one's ever asked me that before, so that's one for the books.
Would you ever be willing to do an executor contract versus subject to?
Meaning, once I pay off the house, refinance the house, you'll sign the document, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The answer is no. 1, I'm the professional, if you will, when it comes to the real estate. 2, tables turn. How do I know if I pay this house off and then you don't sign the paperwork?
Isn't that like the same way like the contract works, where you could like kind of like how the flip of what you said, like you get an attorney and then you take it to court?
But if I'm the professional, I'm the one that's doing the offering, right? I need to have ownership of the property in order to rent the property, in order to owner finance the property if needed, put it on Airbnb. But if we're doing this where, hey, you can trust me with the executor paperwork, that we can sign it off in the future once you do what I ask you to do. Now that's super non-traditional. At that point, it just doesn't make sense.
Gotcha. And then
worth a shot. Definitely worth a shot, though. I'm glad you asked.
No, for sure. And then, do you have any what's your thoughts on like getting past or getting over? I know everyone's gonna say it's rare, it never happens, like 1 out of 1,000. But if a due on sale clause does get called, what would be your advice on that?
Sure. So in 10 years, over hundreds of houses has happened to me twice. The lender just cares about the money coming in. But if it were to happen, we have blanket documents, so we will put the property into a land trust. The land trust will show that you're the beneficiary. Behind the land trust, there's a document called the assignment of beneficiary, which means you gave me the house. We then show the lender, hey, lender, you can't say that the borrower, which is you, cannot do estate planning. The lender can't force that, right? Estate planning is what you want to do with your house that you own. You can do so. So we use a document that's a land trust that will show you the beneficiary. So if the due on sale clause was to be called, we just show them that document that, hey, that you're the Elijah's the beneficiary, right? What we don't show them is the other document that we sign over beneficiary interest to me. That's one way. Second way is I pay off the house. Third way is I sell the house. Fourth way, if I had it owner finance, I sell the note to pay off the house. The fifth way is I refinance the house. Sixth way, if needed, you get the house back. Seventh way, you get the house back, and we do a deal together that we just can deed it right back to me. So the due on sale clause, I know it's out there spreading around the internet, but that doesn't scare me because there's multiple ways to do so. At the end of the day, the bank just wants their money. What they don't want is they don't want the house back. Do we know why they don't want the house back?
Yeah, because they're gonna make big money off it.
Right. It's gonna go to foreclosure, and if it goes to foreclosure, in my opinion, and I shared this with your realtor, your house is worth $220 upside down. I shared that with your realtor. If it were to get foreclosed and get sold on the court steps of foreclosure, it will probably bring in somewhere around 160-ish, 165-ish. The bank then takes a loss. I was like, man, we should have just kept the deed that switched over and continue the payments of the full amount with the interest rate they gave you. The bank doesn't want the house back, go to foreclosure, and then lose $60,000 because they foreclosed. And it's bad for their books when they get a foreclosure.
Gotcha. I think the final question I have would be, so I know you mentioned the offer. What was the offer exactly?
The
What
offer,
would it be?
yeah, the offer is a subject to, which will take over the payments, step in your shoes, pay all the closing costs with the real estate attorney, and this house is behind you, your rearview mirror, and I take it over from you.
Gotcha.
And I think there was funds to you. I want to say it was $4,000 for moving expenses. I give you $4,000. I pay for the paperwork. I then own the house. The loan stays in your name. We really don't chit chat much after the transaction's done. Maybe once a year or so. Hey, how's everything going? Of course, you'll still have your ID and password to the lender. You can log in every month if you like and see that the payment's always being made.
Okay, gotcha. And then I guess I would say, what would be your plan? Would your plan be to like eventually refinance or sell? Because I'm wondering how long would we be on there for? Like, I obviously don't know the future, but
that's one of the most common questions as well. How long would this last? Full disclosure, the paperwork will say I have the rights to the remaining of the loan, just so you know that. Does that make sense for me? No, it doesn't make sense for me to wait 27 years because I can refinance, do a cash out, make money. Again, I'm an investor, right? So I can make more money on the house if I refinance when the time is right. But when is the time right? I will tell you this, your balance on the house is $228. In my opinion, I'm already $8,000 upside down if I were to even do this. Then I gotta give you $4,000. That's $12,000 upside down. And I gotta pay for the paperwork for the attorney. That's $16,000 upside down. And then I gotta pay for HOA, and then full disclosure, obviously, your realtor who's doing a lot of work, she needs to get paid. So that's more money upside down. So I'm already $18,000 upside down for what a house is even worth. If we think about it this way, I'll be buying your house for $240 when I think it's only worth $220. Typically, a family will sell a house in 7 to 10 years. In those 7 to 10 years, the value of the house goes up. Obviously, the balance of your loan goes down, and then they can sell it, cash out the loan, and then make money on it. I'm stepping in your shoes today with already $20,000 upside down. So when will that happen? I will say easy, 5 to 7 years. But whenever the time is right, the house will then get sold traditionally, cash out the loan, and then whatever profits in the back end is obviously what I deserve. Or if refinance in the future, hey, rates are all-time low, we're now at 1.9, well then it makes sense for me to refinance, pull equity out, and then get a new loan. So that's just being full, transparent, 100 disclosure with you. In my opinion, not in my opinion, it's a fact. You can't sell this house traditionally. If someone were to come with you with a full conventional offer, without you come to the table with money, it's not going to happen. You can do a short sale, but you don't want to do a short sale. A short sale is, hey bank, I owe you $228. It's not going to sell in this market with the fees and the commissions and all that. Will you allow me to sell this house at $180? And the bank says, yes, I allow you to sell this house for $180. You then put the house on the market for $180. It's going to sell in a short amount of time, hence the short sale. But that's considered a foreclosure because you didn't pay the full amount and you applied for a short sale. It's a form of foreclosure, which you don't want that. You rather do a sub-2 than get a foreclosure in your name with the back credit.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you can rent it. But if I recall, rentals are upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know what other options you have besides staying in the house. Unless someone comes and says, hey, I'll buy this house for $230,000 cash with no realtors and I'll pay all your costs, which that's very, very rare.
Of course, yeah. Definitely. No, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to clarify is it's actually $328 on the note.
$328.
Yeah, $328. Yeah, cool. I want to make sure that was, I didn't know if you were, if I figured you're saying 228, but you meant 328, okay. But just in case you thought it was 228,
okay.
That's always a big difference. Yeah. Okay, cool. Hey, look, I really appreciate you, your full disclosure on everything. I think it's a really good deal, honestly, to be honest with you. I do agree. I think your offer is a great offer. And I think, it's pretty good. The only thing is, as you could tell right now, I'm not at the point to where I'm fully comfortable with, the big thing is trusting that it's the, not that I don't trust you per se, but just...
Well, you shouldn't. You don't know me, right? Obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. What I'm saying? Yeah. That's the thing. Trusting someone without having any documentation of the finances,
Again, it goes back to, we need to create a relationship. You need to trust me. You need to know I'm your guy. Your realtor reach out to me because she knows I'm the guy as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Is it cool if I, sleep on this, talk to my wife about it?
Yeah, of course. It's a big decision. Yeah. It's a big decision. Let me ask you this. Why are you selling again?
Pretty much the economy. My job is, they did a 50% layoff. So I'm not confident with my job where it's at right now. Mm-hmm. I'm in tech, but also this is the worst market in tech since the bubble burst in 2001. So I can't really get a new job at the moment. And my current job is, we're supposed to close doors May 3rd, but it's just we're getting contracts, so we're extending. But the question is, how long can the company stay alive?
Right.
That's my issue. Yeah.
What happens when they tell you, hey, we're closing doors July 1st?
Yeah, at that point, I would either, like you said, either foreclose or, I just learned about this stuff too. So,
right.
if there's like you said, if there's a sub 2 offer, I prefer to take that offer than to foreclose. But at the same time, if I could just get a better job, or I'm not counting on this company to rebound, but if I could just get a better job, not a better job, but just the same job at a different company, then I would be better off.
Is your goal to stay in the house?
To be honest with you, my goal is to eventually leave in general. That's my goal. But right now, if I had to leave right now, I'm not ready to go to Tennessee. I want to build a house down there, so I'm just going to do waffles.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think at this point I answered all your questions.
You did.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to discuss, unless, by all means, if you have another question overnight, either A, you can tell your realtor, or B, which I think your realtor's cool with this, you can just contact me directly and answer your questions, and if all is good. The next step was me to do the showing, which was supposed to do this morning, which I know he canceled it because of these questions. If we do move forward, the next thing is I go look at the house. I look at it for about 3 to 5 minutes max, bring in an inspector with me. I take it as is, and then we close in 2 weeks. It's as fast as I can close because the attorney's so far behind.
Gotcha. And,
but if you need more time, we can also close in more time.
And then I can just text this number, right?
Yes, sir.
Communication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Any final questions?
That was all of them. Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. Have a good one, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Bye.
At the wrong house the whole time. And then I looked at the house, like, that's not worth $320, and I realized, I had the wrong sub 2 in front of me. Lesson number 1, if you heard the full conversation, you heard what I said. I care more about him trusting me than I do care about the house. There's a lot of investors, a lot of people who are starting off is, screw the seller, let me do whatever I got to do to get the house. I will tell you that's a short frame of thinking, because I'm going to be in a relationship with the seller potentially the next 10 years. We need to, 1, always protect the sellers. 2, we're here to help people out. He cannot sell his house, so we need to help him with this sub 2. But before I even go look at the house, before I even think about what I'm going to cash flow and sell it on a finance, get the down payment, and get cash flow every single month for the next 30 years of my life, I mean, do you even want to do business with me to begin with? Do you trust me? Do you trust the system? In all honesty, you have no other choice but me. But I need you to feel comfortable with me, because that's more important than me just putting another house in the portfolio.